Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar here. Let's see if I can see them. I love my technology, folks. Like I love a sharp stick in the eye, because for whatever reason, this post can only be seen by myself on my personal page. So we'll fix that here in a moment. But we've decided to belly up to the bar, and y'all know I always love an interesting story. So I figured today, why not have us a peach from the Orange County? You like that? I told you. It's always off the cuff. So joining us with probably one of the most interesting and unique stories that I've heard in a long time. And he even gave me permission before the show. So for anybody else who's listening who that's never had this permission, I don't even have to call him doctor. But we will for the opening here. So joining us all the way from Orange County, California, we're going to be talking about how can we lead with compassion and accountability. So joining us all the way out there, it's Dr. Stefan Bean. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great, Sean.
You know, we talked about it. You said, you can call me Stefan, but I actually, I might just go with Doc. I always like that a little bit better. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Yeah.
You want to go with that one?
Well, as long as you don't call me Mr. Bean, right? That's why I changed my name to Dr. Bean, so that people confuse me with that comedian.
Listen, I understand that completely. You had to really, you got to work for those kind of things and get out of those. You want to get caught into all that stuff. So, as always, folks, before we get into talking about the good doctor here, about how he got to this point, a little bit of his background. As always, let's talk about the big board over my right shoulder. That sticker and a cause. If you have something you believe in, something you're supporting, something you want other people to know about, reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. You let me know what you got going on. I'll tell you where to send that sticker to. We read about it live here on the air. Cost you nothing than I don't even know how much a stamp is anymore. It's like $40, $50 for a stamp. I don't know. They keep telling us. They keep telling us they can't afford it, right? Isn't that what it is, Doc?
I think so. Something like that. It's not pennies anymore, that's for sure.
I know. I can still remember getting a 10-cent stamp, and then you'd have to get the 2 little 1 centers that went next to it and all that stuff. So make sure you let us know what you got going on, and we'll read about you live here on the air. And let's talk about the people that pay the bills around here. For the 20 of you that's joining us, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow, all those things. But let's talk about the people that pay the bills around here, and that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Del Mar, and Clifton Park, North America's largest custom window treatment company. They're handling everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery, window tint, you name it. They measure for you. They install it. And this is the biggest thing, folks. Somebody asked us once recently, what makes Budget Blinds different from everybody else? Well, listen, if you're a DIYer, you can go do all those kind of things. But here's the biggest thing. They're coming to your house. They're doing it in your house. They're doing it with you. They're doing everything. And all their products come with a minimum of a 5-year, no questions asked warranty. What does that mean? Well, that means if you have a kid that Jackson Pollock's one of your window treatments, and if you don't know what a Jackson Pollock is, go learn. I can't help you. And Jackson Pollock's one of your window treatments, you can pick up the phone and call that local Budget Blinds, and they will replace that shade at zero cost. That shade will cost you nothing. So make sure you're reaching out to your local Budget Blinds. And if you're in the capital region, you reach out this month in February. Those Budget Blinds are doing 20% off product. And as always, if you mention to them you're there to belly up to the bar, that's another 5% off of those window treatments you're going to get. So again, folks, reach out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Del Mar, and Clifton Park. All right, Doc, all of it's done. How are you today?
Doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Sean.
What is the weather in California right now? I just need to know real quick.
You know what? Actually, unfortunately, it rained heavy last night. We're going to get some storm this weekend. That's pretty unheard of, Southern California. Not like New Yorkers with snow. No.
Yeah, I mean, we did pretty good. We this is the first day in about 18 or 19 that we actually broke. Yeah, we broke 32 degrees. We made it to 37 today. Just want
Wow.
you to, I just want you to know that. I want you to know
Wow.
how. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, we're making things happen here. So let me make sure I got this right. So born in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and now my brain's going to stop. Operation, was it airlift or airdrop?
So it's
Yeah,
Operation Baby Lift. And
baby lift. That was it.
yeah.
Where they brought a whole bunch of Vietnamese children back to the United States after the war. Um, Large populations, obviously, in California. Houston has a huge population of Vietnamese. Also, if you ever listen to the show, you hear me talk about Viet Cajun food. I want to try it so badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big Viet. That's a big thing in the Houston area. So you were brought, but you had kind of a unique situation, even being brought here, didn't you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, born in '71 during the height of the Vietnam War. So because of the war, there wasn't enough. The healthcare system was totally dismantled. So there wasn't enough polio vaccinations to go to every single child. So literally, they'd give every other child a polio vaccination. I tell people that, hey, I was blessed to be skipped because I wouldn't be in front of you right now if I got the vaccination. Well, because I didn't get it, it left me paralyzed from the waist down. I had severe scoliosis, and so my parents actually abandoned me on the streets of Saigon, and then an orphanage brought me in.
So physically, just left you.
Just left me right in the streets, man.
Oh,
And I was about 2 years old when that happened. Yeah,
so 2 years old, left on the street in Vietnam, and
and then an orphanage
you must
took
have been
me
a
in.
cute kid, though. Let's be honest. You had to
Well,
be a cute kid.
that's what
You had to be a
that's
cute
what I
kid.
said. I had to be cute sometime.
I mean, because let's be honest. I mean, because if you weren't a cute kid, Doc, let's be honest. They might have been like, "Pfft, I'm
Good thing, I guess, a good thing I was cute because they brought me in. So, but I was there. I was there for about 2 years, and then in '75, to your point, Sean, Operation Baby Lift was executed by President Ford. That was a huge military operation, along with social services, to bring 3,000 refugees right before Saigon was to fall, to be airlifted and flown to different countries like the U.S. to be placed in foster homes or adopted. The day April 6th was such a chaotic day that the staff were running around and trying to get these babies on these planes. My records, my braces were put on one plane. Then they mistakenly put me on another, and the plane that had my records, the one I was supposed to be on, took off and it crashed. So over 100
were there
people.
people on that plane, or was it
Oh,
just record?
there are over 200 people on that plane.
Wow, I've never heard that.
Yeah, 93 orphans died on that plane. And that, yeah, that's all a part of the historical documents of Operation Baby Lift. So, fortunately, I was on the other plane out and made it safely to the United States.
Brother, I've never heard like I've heard the story of Operation Baby Lift. I've seen stuff about it, but I've never heard that one of those planes went down.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a two decker, right? And so when it took off, the back door blew out, and then it crashed right off the takeoff.
Now, out of curiosity, and obviously you've been here now since you was at that point what 5 years old? Oh,
Yeah,
excuse me, about 5.
4 years. Yeah, 4 years old.
So, I mean, have you ever gone back to Vietnam, connected with your family there, anything?
No, I try to research the family, through all those ancestry type of things, and no luck. But I do plan on taking my 4 kids and myself at the end of this year to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Operation Baby Left.
Yeah, because I mean, I mean, it's such a unique situation you have there where part of you have to say, well, that's my heritage. I want to go, I want to
Yeah,
see where I came from. But at the other side to it, I mean, how would you even react if somebody was like, I'm mom and dad, like, listen,
yeah,
you turd. Like, is it like one of those, like, listen, you turds? Or you don't know their situation because you don't know, like, listen, we don't have like the saying goes, a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out. How have you given? I'm just curious right now because have you? My mother was adopted, but she was adopted by family members.
yeah.
So I'm very curious about these things for people.
It's interesting. I've never been curious enough to know who my natural parents are. I mean, basically, they abandoned me on the streets of Saigon, right? And for a reason, couldn't care for me, obviously, because I was paralyzed. But I really think that, as I reflect on my whole childhood, it was the Beans, right? So Greg and Judy Bean, when I landed in the United States, they met me in Seattle, then took a flight down to San Diego where they resided. And the Beans were amazing people, Sean. I mean, Judy Bean had the biggest heart, love, compassion for the most vulnerable in our community. They took over 100 foster kids in that household.
I
Uh,
just love her name. Judy
yeah,
Bean is probably one
Judy
of the
Bean.
coolest, is one of the best
Yeah.
names. If that doesn't sound like some lady who's like taking care of everybody,
Yep.
like Judy. Everybody knows Judy Bean. Come on now,
Judy.
everybody knows Judy.
Judy and Greg Bean too. They're
Oh,
both great names.
that's so great. Like because everybody knows Judy. I mean, come on. Like
That's
like Judy sounds like Judy was making cookies,
it's
and Greg
exactly right.
and Greg sounds like he was probably like mid management, or like close to an exec somewhere.
Well,
Like
I would tell you, you're very close. I mean, Judy Bean was a homemaker, right? She took care of the foster kids. She did all the cooking. She cared for the house. And Greg was a sixth grade teacher his whole life for 30 years. Same
there you
school,
go.
same school, same grade.
Eh, no kids, any kids of their own?
Yeah, they had two of their own. So there were 12 kids in the household at any one given time.
Mm.
Incredible.
Now, how did they react to having all these kids kind of like rotating through the house?
Well, like I said, mom had the biggest heart for the most vulnerable. Many of those foster kids had disabilities or abuse. I remember one baby that came in at 6 months, baby Arthur, and he had a brain shunt already implanted from his
Oh my
brain
God.
down to drain the swollen brain every day because his natural parents hit his head against the wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but then at age 2, I was coming down the stairs, and there's my mom, Judy, holding the lifeless body of baby Arthur because he succumbed to his injuries.
Oh my God.
Yeah, those are the kinds of kids that the Beans took care of.
Now the other side to this is, for those of you that are curious what Dr. Stefan's got going on here, you can check out liftedtolead.com. That's his website. It's just like it sounds. Liftedtolead.com. You can see what he's got. And for those of you that are watching us live, please make sure you give this a like, share, follow, all those things. So how did that for you? Because if those of you who don't know, you're an educator. You're this. If I got my notes right, and you correct me here, you're the superintendent for Orange County Schools, right?
That's correct. Yes, that's
I mean,
correct.
so we're not talking to let's listen. I'll take care of all the mean words. Like, you're not in a bullshit job. You're in the most diverse educational system for like in. I mean, when I read that Orange County was the most diverse school
Yeah,
system in the country, beyond like a New York City or something like that, I was very surprised by that.
yeah.
I mean, how did that affect you? Obviously, having a parent who was a teacher affected you in that way, but from a compassion standpoint, and I hate to use the word empathy because I think it's used wrong personally, because I think people think if you're empathetic, that just means you're a weenie. No, 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 no. You can be empathetic to a person's situation without being pathetic to the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people lose that. But how much effect? I mean, especially hearing, yeah, like I'm seeing this, my mother holding a lifeless child at the end,
Hmm.
and the steps that I watched her for 2 years take
Hmm.
care of. How did all that affect you growing up and getting into a role that you're in?
Yeah, Sean, it actually formed who I am as a leader, right? And I think that leaders need to have this to lead from the heart. And so when you see abused children come through the house, or when you see homeless people, and when you see, so I have three black sisters, and I got two Latino brothers who are autistic. So you talk about diversity, right? I mean, we have diversity in our household, and actually kind of represents the diversity of Orange County, frankly. But all of that to say is that you grow up to learn to listen, and that's what we talk about in Lifted to Lead is listen and learn to one another, right? And when we begin to do that, we can actually have conversations. And so my parents really instilled that in us at the dinner table every night. You know,
It's funny you mentioned that diversity. I just was having this conversation with my granddaughter, which, listen, we can talk about the education. When I looked at my granddaughter and I said, "Hey, you remember who Mark Twain is?" And she goes, "Who?"
yeah,
and she's 12. And I went, and she's actually like, that granddaughter is like straight A student in all the clubs, doing all the stuff, and
Mm.
she's a big reader. She's reading Where the Red Ferns Grow.
Yeah.
So she's not reading bad books, but I'm like, Mark Twain. She's like, I don't know who you're talking about, because what you're mentioning, I had mentioned to her. It's like, remember, Mark Twain. One of his best, most memorable things that I remember of him, other than, if you, I don't know if you knew this. Did you know he helped Grant write his book, and he
No.
supported Grant? So
No.
when Grant was like in a complete cancer-ridden, trying to survive, Mark Twain is one of the people who helped support him and get his book written and
Wow.
published.
I did not know that.
Yeah, little piece of knowledge. But he also said you can't be, and he didn't use the word racist because it wasn't a term for his days, but basically he said you can't be a racist if you travel.
Hmm.
And I told this to my granddaughter, and with something you just said, if you live in a diverse household in a diverse neighborhood, I grew up in East Baltimore. You can't listen. I love everybody. I don't care because we were all there together. Like, like we were all broke. Didn't know. Listen, we were all broke as shit.
Yeah.
Nobody had no money. So I think about that for you in that diversity. You know, was it difficult for you in such a diverse house when you went to school and people were like, you know, we gravitate to who we look like.
Yeah.
So you were going to typically
Oh,
gravitate.
listen, it was
How did
difficult. I
that
mean,
work?
well, that's a great question. It was difficult because so back in the 70s and 80s, the new special ed law just came out, but
Okay.
educators are still trying to figure it out. And so, I remember in third grade, I had kids on the playground always said, "You don't belong here. You shouldn't be playing Foursquare." Remember one kid, pinned me against the wall before we got to the classroom, and he slapped me across the face and said, "Hey, you don't belong here. Get out of here." Right. So to your point, yes, when people aren't around people that they're not used to, you know, whatever it may be, their defense mechanism or whatever it is, and so I've that has formed who I am as a leader, which is, you know, I have this reputation. I don't really care about um, all these adult issues if we just center the work around what we're supposed to. And that's our kids. Man, we're gonna make a lot of gains for our kids, right? So
Absolutely.
leave out the politics, leave out all that stuff.
How about the flip side to it? And I know I'm focusing on this right now, but I think it's such a backstory for somebody like yourself who beat you beat all the odds and got the winning lottery ticket for lack of a better.
Sure.
How about the other side to it? When you met other Vietnamese children, there was that recent show, Made in America, which was absolutely hilarious. I watched that. I love that show. But he talked a lot about like, and even I'm trying to remember the chef's name. He talks about this. A lot of the famous chefs that are from out that way, that were Asian American, and they talk about like, man, I didn't want to bring the kimchi to school that mom was packing. But you
Mhm.
had kind of an opposite experience. Did
I
you
did.
did you experience anything where they were like, yeah, you look like us, but you don't act like us. What's your problem?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up of course, in a suburb white area, and so even myself trying to, coming from or going into a new country, just trying to even understand who I was, right, or where I came from, and other kids reminded me that I didn't look like them. Other kids reminded me that, they looked at me weird. Now there were some kids the kids that I gravitated most in elementary school were other kids from other countries, right?
Okay.
So it was interesting, but that's all that to say though that as I grew up, I didn't do very well in elementary school for a variety of reasons, mainly because I had lots of surgeries, I had health issues, and one of those surgeries that I had was a spinal cord fusion where they cut down my spinal cord,
Oh my gosh.
chisel each vertebrae, and then attach two rods down my back and tie it up. And it left me in a full body cast from neck to ankle for 9 months. And this is in fifth grade. So, but I never. Let me tell you this. I never let my circumstance define me. I was always about hope and thinking about the next day when I got out of that cast, or I'm strong to get over this. But it wasn't until sixth grade when Mr. G and look, Sean, we've all had these teachers that whisper something that changed your life, right? Mr. G said, Stefan, I don't care the fact you're in a wheelchair. I don't care the fact that you're an English learner. What I do care for is that you have this gift. He said, you have the gift of gab. He told me I like to talk a lot. And guess what? He cultivated that, and here I am, big communicator.
See, that was Mr. Burns for me.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Burns. I can tell you 100 stories. He had a big beard like I got. He was that teacher. I even had a teacher one time, and I don't know where this came from. I was like, maybe I'll be a corporate lawyer. And I had a teacher tell me that, oh, you can't do that. My daughter, this. And I said something to Mr. Burns, and I ended up finding out that Mr. Burns went and found the other teacher and was like, don't you ever tell a student of mine he can't do something.
Yeah.
Like he dogged the guy out and was like, so I get that completely. So now here we are. You're going in. You go to college to become an educator. You get all the bells and whistles to do that. Where does your education journey start as far as teaching is concerned?
Yeah, actually, I went to college at USC in the entrepreneurship program. So I went to go to
Okay.
learn how to start my own business. Actually, did start my own business right out of college. Actually, we,
What'd you do?
back in the early '90s, we created these collaborative software, which allowed people to uh, do word processing in various parts of the world. So, i.e., Google Documents, right? Uh,
Right.
and but we were way before our time. So because back then we had that phone line, right, that made that beep noise. So many of the companies
Hmm.
they said no, 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 it's not going to work because the bandwidth is not big enough, and they're right at the time. Anyway, so I started as business, but um, I think that what got me into education was just this. When my dad said to me, Stefan, if you're going to overcome these challenges you faced as a child, you have to prioritize education. And then he said, because education is going to unlock the potential in you. And then this is what was really impactful for me. He said, and uh, through you, education will unlock the potential of others. And so it's a very prophetic
Oh,
statement because here I
absolutely.
am, right, overseeing 450,000 students in education. So that stuck with me for my whole life. But I think it was my wife that got me into to that path.
I say 400. You do realize you have more kids in your school than multiple counties around me have people.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
That's how big Orange
insane.
County is. Yeah.
I guess I just never realized how big Orange County was.
Yeah. Very,
Ah,
very big. Microcosm of I'd say the state of California for sure. Large and diverse.
that's right. Now you say your wife got you, and I do believe that for every man who's been successful, there is at some point been somebody like a wife or whatever you're into that cheerleaded you into that role. How did she cheerlead you into like educate? Like, did you know her while you were in college? Like,
Good question. Sean, I look back at all the accomplishments I've been blessed with, and none greater than meeting Janet. So I met Janet at USC and asked her out 3 times, and she said no all 3 times. Later on, though, we would happen to be at the same mutual friend's wedding 5 years later after graduation, and our friend put us at the same table. So, chemistry flew that night, and she made the first move that night. She made the first kiss. So, but then we started dating, and I don't want to spoil too much of our first date because hopefully people will read the book Lifted to Lead, but it's a great first date. But after that first date, we started dating, and you know what? In our conversation, she saw through my scars, right? My physical scars. I must have like a dozen physical scars, but also the emotional scars of coming from this war torn country. And she saw right through that, and she loved me for who I was. And she grew up in a poor Portuguese family who
wow.
prioritized education. So she said, Stefan, I think that you need to do what your dad did, get an education. So got married in 2000, and was a teacher I think in '96. So 28 years now.
Wow. Now, now she's Portuguese. Have you been to Lisbon yet?
No, but we're planning to take another
Bro.
trip to the Azores. That's where they're from, the Azores. So
Okay. So
yeah,
from that's the islands
yep,
out there.
yep,
We just went to Lisbon last year, and absolutely one
uh,
of the one of those places you don't realize,
yeah,
like as Americans, we don't realize how old the rest of the world is.
yeah,
And I've been to those places. I've been to Venice and all that, but you don't realize how old the rest of the world is till you get there, and you're like, oh, we really are a bunch of babies and all that. Like we're the little kids. Like we're the little kids at the end of the table, even though we're demanding everything. So she helped you out. Um, Even that part of it. And again, folks, we're talking with Dr. Stefan Bean, not Mr. Bean, Dr. Stefan Bean,
yeah. Not the comedian, Sean.
not the
The
comedian.
comedian is Mr. Bean. Okay.
And his website and his book is liftedtolead.com. And again, that's two is TO lead.com. Make sure you're getting a copy, checking it out. Um, so even getting into the education side, because I guess in my mind, early 90s, you said you started teaching in 96. I can still see the buildings when I was a kid, and they all seemed fairly accessible by that point. The ADA laws were in.
Yeah,
But what was, like, when you're interviewing
yeah,
and you're like, hey, English was not my first language. I don't know if you still speak Vietnamese or not
yeah,
from those days. You lost that just over
yep,
time.
yep.
Hey, I know I'm in a wheelchair. This is my background. Yeah, I'd like to teach what was your teaching degree in?
So elementary, or I could teach K through eighth grade.
Okay, so kind of more general studies.
Yep.
Kind of, hey, I'm here to give me a room full of first graders. I got this. Like, what was that conversation like? Because I can imagine them being like, "Listen, bud, like we appreciate you."
Well, Sean, I mean, if people are being honest, they certainly have implicit bias. I know that actually I was turned down for some jobs prior to that because the job entailed traveling, and they said, you do have to travel, right? So obviously that's an implicit bias statement. But yeah, even sometimes I even doubted myself. Would I be, okay, how am I going to decorate the walls and get in there? But I think education is the perfect place for a person with disability because other students get to see this adult model that they can overcome things, right? And so yeah, I just had people help me decorate the walls. I was able to get around the room, and kids just always got attracted to me because I was just down to earth kind of a guy. But yeah, our interviews, you could definitely tell there's hesitation behind those certain questions, and I didn't always get that first job that I interviewed for. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I was curious about that, and I guess the other side to it is, and staying with your statement about those bias, did they try to push you into like, well, maybe you would be better with the special education kids, like trying to push you over, like listen, we'll keep you
yeah,
over there.
that was actually as I was moving up. So I was a teacher for a while, and then I started interviewing for principalships, and the hesitation that I would get when I was interviewing for principalships is in the moment of an emergency or crisis, right? And you could tell they're hitting down hard on those questions for me, like how would you navigate that? What would you do? And so it took me a while to get that first principalship job.
Did you tell him? Have you ever seen the movie Silver Bullet by Stephen King?
No,
You've never seen that?
I've
Oh,
never
dude.
seen that one, man. No.
Listen. This is the only time in my life I ever wished I wished I was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Because that movie is gosh, it's the one with the werewolf. It's the werewolf movie,
Oh
Silver
yes,
Bullet.
yes. Uh-huh.
And the kid was in a wheelchair being chased by the werewolf, and his uncle builds him a wheelchair that like is rocket powered. Like you
Is that
never
why
seen. Yeah.
so they played with the silver bullet being the bullet that killed a werewolf, but he was also a bullet, right?
And
So
he was the silver bullet also because
got it.
he had this wheelchair. You've never all right, Doc.
Never seen it, man.
Listen, Doc,
I'm gonna have to
come
watch
on.
it now.
Listen, I'm gonna go through my own bias now and be like, "What do you mean you're in a wheelchair? You never watched a movie of a guy in a wheelchair? How could you?"
Yeah, thank you, buddy. There you go. Talk about
I'm gonna go into my own bias now.
yeah, there you go. But
Now,
through all that, no, I'll tell you something, Sean. Though through all that, I never played victim, right? I always knew that, hey, yeah, it's going to take a little bit extra to overcome these things, so I overcame them, right? My parents instilled in me. Like, there's a great story. I was growing up. I won this Yahtzee game, and I was like first grade or kindergarten, and I couldn't put it in my backpack.
okay.
So, and my parents made me walk 4 blocks home every day. So I dropped it to the ground and I would kick it with my crutch. I go 10 feet. I kick it with my crutch and go 10 feet. You got these mothers driving by me and saying, hey, you need a ride, young man? I said, no, I got this. So that perseverance, though, made it home, but the Yahtzee box was all broken to pieces, right? But it was that persistence and stubbornness that really helped me to overcome those kinds of things. So that's we got to teach our kids that you can overcome, persevere.
Now, I'm curious because something you just said, and it made me think about my son's school district, where we're at. Have you taken the cell phones away?
Yeah, we actually in California we are taking cell phones away before they go into the classroom.
I love that because and the reason I say that is I had a conversation with my wife a couple of years ago. One of my sons, he's 16 now. He was being a knucklehead and he was grounded. Took his phone away, and she handed him his phone back, and it reminded me of something you just said. She handed his phone back to him. She says, "Well, what if I have to get a hold of him if there's an emergency?" I said, "How the hell did we ever make it in
Yeah.
life?" I said, "You just took away his ability to critically think."
Mm.
And she looked at me and she goes, that makes perfect sense.
Mm.
Because I was like, and I was thinking about you're talking about perseverance. Like you were taught, listen, no one's going to pick that up for you. You
Yeah.
need to learn to critically think and
Yeah.
figure it out.
It's funny you say because when we moved, I must have been 5. We moved from a single story house to a 2-story house, and my mom and dad said, "Stefan, your room is upstairs," and then they said, "You'll figure it out," and I
That's
did.
it. You
I had
figured it
to.
out.
Yeah.
Did you do the butt scoot up or did
Yeah, no, I did that. I did that, like the military crawl up the stairs.
okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
and then slid down, face first.
So you had more fun than everybody else getting down the steps.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, that's great. Listen, Stefan, I mean, I love your story. I mean,
Thanks,
just
man.
the fact that of coming from another country to the United States, that in of itself, I think most Americans don't grasp that concept
Yeah,
that like because you would never in a million years hear somebody say, "Oh, well, I live in South Africa and I just adopted an American child."
yeah,
That would never happen. Like if that ever made it on the news, you and I both know that would be national news. They would shut the world down if somebody was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I adopted this American child. He was in a bad place." Would never happen. But bringing somebody here, we don't think anything of it. Have you ever given that a thought in any way? I mean, just throwing that out there.
no, but I've given a lot of thought about how blessed I was to be
Absolutely.
brought over, right? And that if Americans didn't have that generosity of receiving children, right, I would still be in Vietnam. And by the way, children in Vietnam, where they're disabled, they're put in a corner of a house, right?
Literally.
Especially in the 70s and 80s, and not to be
Wow.
seen, right? So,
So, all right. So, next question here. Now I'm looking over, and lifted isn't what we think lifted is. Like, yes, lifted. Baby lift was the program, but lifted is an acronym also for you.
yeah, yeah. It's
Now,
that leadership acronym that I've learned from all of these experiences, right? From the airlift
okay.
of my parents, from the lift of Gregory and Judy Bean, and the lift of Mr. Geisinger. By the way, back to Mr. G, the what because he cultivated that, he said, Stephanie, you're just going to give oral presentations this whole year, and you don't need to write. whatever you learn, just speak it. And so because of that, I built the communication skills, and I was invited to Washington, D.C. to speak in front of 15,000 people on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial at the age of 14, right? And so he lifted me, and that moment lifted me. But it is an acronym for how we should lead. And so the first is the L is listen and learn. The I is we inspire potential in people. And the F is we foster authenticity, meaning be real, right? Be real with yourself,
I love that.
other. Yeah. By the way, people will follow real people, right? Not somebody who's just like thinks they know it all. And then transform through hope is the T. I'll share this one. I think you would appreciate this. They did a study of the POWs in Vietnam,
Right.
and Stockdale was a POW who survived, and half of the POWs survived, and the other did not. And so they did a study and discovered that those POWs who did not survive had hope. They had hope that they would be rescued in the summer, hope that they'd be rescued in Christmas, and it would never happen, right? So what happened was that hope turned into despair. But Stockdale, they learned from Stockdale that he had hope, but he also understood that the situation he was in, he was tortured, he was captured,
Oh,
he was in a bad situation. So he had to face the brutal facts and still had hope. And that's what get half of those people out of there. So that's what this transform through hope is, the T. And then the E is we have to empower strength. Just like your teacher, Sean, and my teacher, they knew we had a strength in us, and we have to empower that in one another and our kids especially. And the last one is develop others, because let's face it, at the end of the day, if I'm the superintendent, our job is to educate these kids because one day they're going to replace us, so we have to develop them, right?
I, I'm going to tell you, to me, like all of these are great, but I love the development other thing.
Yeah.
And because coming out of the Marine Corps, that was actually the toughest thing for me to deal with
Mm,
civilians,
mm,
because I was used to in the Marine Corps, if you're a sergeant, you're not doing a sergeant job, you're training to do a staff sergeant job. If you're a staff sergeant, you're training to do a gunny's job. I don't care that that's your responsibility to do these things. You also need to learn the job ahead of you.
that's right.
When I got out here, that was such a Stefan, that was such a challenge for me because I expected that type of and no, no, no. I need to, and I understand it from for civilians. They wanted to protect their job and protect their world, because if I teach Murph how to do this and he's better than me at it, he's going to take my job and I'm going to lose my job.
Right. That's the mentality a lot of us have.
It's crazy. Why do you think, you know, and you're an educator, so you have entire departments. We beg for educators. We beg for people to go into that world. Why do you think that's still such a challenge even in that world?
Well, I think because just like you said, it's natural for us to have this sense of self perseverance. It's natural for us to be competitive and think about, well, be selfish in that way. I think it takes a different level of a person to really think about, no, we actually should be training and develop people to take over our jobs one day. And that takes a lot of, what do you call that?
Gumption,
Gumption, maturity. Yeah,
intestinal fortitude.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
You use
And I
all
would say,
these
listen,
terms.
I think the military is a great example of that whole idea that, yeah, we have to develop every single rank because they're going to move up and replace us, and that's what will keep this machine running, right?
That's it. And if somebody was and I'm going to kind of lean on this for a second. If somebody was an aspiring educator, um, and listen, I I don't pull punches, Stefan. Have you ever read Weapon of Mass Instruction?
No,
I need you to read that book. I need you to do that for me. It was
okay.
written by a New York State Teacher of the Year, and I'm funny about education because I think we teach a lot of things that aren't there, and
Mm,
need to be there. For somebody who maybe they were jaded, like I look at stuff like there's that book, and it's not meant against teachers. It's called Lies My Teacher Told Me, but
mm,
it's not the teachers. It's actually again it's the book companies, and you
mm,
know. They don't say slavery was what it really was. They'll be like, it was for states' rights. You mean all those guys that walked away and said, hey, if you don't let me keep my slaves, um,
Mm.
we're not sticking around here. That wasn't was it? No, no, it was states' rights. But if you run into somebody who's jaded in that way and they've read these kind of books and they've seen these kind of things, or they just said, hey, you know what? I didn't have great teachers like you and I had. I love teaching people stuff. It's one of my favorite things to do. How do you get them as somebody in a role like yours, especially like you just said, 450,000 kids, dude? That's blowing my mind. How do you get them to say, hey, there's a real purpose in you doing this? How do you get that into somebody?
Well, it's interesting, Sean. There are lots of, I mean, you and I experienced it ourselves. There are lots of great teachers that understand when they're in that teaching profession. It is about developing and inspiring the kids to be who they want to be. I think that naturally you go into that field for that reason. But I also think that, because of we are expecting our teachers to be mental health counselors, special education teachers, mathematicians, reading specialists, all of these things. And I think that there isn't a clarity for our teachers, or even sometimes the support that they need to be able to inspire their kids. And so, um, and with that also is that politics and adult issues confuses our teachers too, right? I was a teacher. Let me just teach, right?
That's it. That's all you want to do.
Just let me teach. And then not to say, listen, there are vastly more uh, great teachers, but then there are some teachers that are not good. So I think the profession needs to do a good job of how do we elevate, how do we elevate teachers? By holding high expectations for everybody in education, right? I mean, you said it on your title. We have to hold them accountable for good
Yeah.
teaching, right? So I think that we can't be shy. Listen, even if you have teachers that are average, I don't think I would. I'd rather have a great surgeon than an average surgeon doing an open heart surgery, right?
You think? Maybe. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe. So
uh,
I think our students deserve the same. They deserve great teachers.
now, that you just brought up something, and it's something that we've experienced in where we're at. We have I wouldn't say I have a rural school district, but I have a smaller school district where I'm at.
Yeah,
How do you keep that passion for or help somebody keep that passion for teaching when they're tenured? They're like, listen, man, uh, you you got a better chance of getting a tick off a dog's ass and get me out this door. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Because
I
listen, I
know.
worked a union world. I love working in the unions, but you're in that really tough spot. And if this is one of those things where you're like, Murph, I plead the fifth. I understand. Also, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how do you keep that passion? Because that's where we talk about that compassion and accountability. Like you have to be compassionate to teach people. Because
Yeah,
my kids drive me nuts,
I
and
think you
I have
just have to keep reminding teachers that they have the lives of children in their hands, right? And so you need really good coaches, you need really good leaders and principals to coach into those teachers that may be struggling. I think that if those teachers who are struggling, if they don't get the support they need through actual authentic coaching, it's not their fault because they may have never heard that maybe they're nobody's ever told them the things that they could do better. And if nobody's told them that, that's not, they can't improve. And so I really think if there are average teachers, we need to look at leadership and we need to look at principles and we need to look at how we're developing and supporting our teachers. Um, and if there are teachers, if we do everything we can to support them and they still aren't good, then we have enough to say, you may be in the wrong profession.
right. Underwater basket weaving is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, folks, it's just about time for that last call. It's Valentine's Day coming up, so you need whiskey worth falling for. This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits because nothing says I love you like a bottle that actually means something. Whether you're planning a fancy dinner, a cozy night in, or celebrating your favorite person, you New Scotland Spirits is the kind of whiskey that shows up with style. Handcrafted in upstate New York, it's bold, smooth, and unforgettable, just like the best kind of love. Visit newscotlandspirits.com to grab a bottle in time for Valentine's Day. New Scotland Spirits, whiskey worth falling for. You like that? I know you like that.
I
The
like
voice.
that. I like that.
You,
Although I'm not a whiskey guy, I'm a red wine guy. So
all
and a
right.
beer. I love beer. And listen, I like beer. I like beer. So
Well, let's hold on. We got to get into this for a minute here. Oh, wait, so Kristen, our favorite Kristen. Kristen says, "I love that you have the lives of children in their hands. That's so empowering." She's absolutely right. All right, so let's ask this question: Are you a Merlot guy? Are you what? Like, and I'm a room temperature Merlot guy.
I will go with a great a beer first, like a Bock, okay, heavy,
Okay,
okay, heavy beer, German beer,
I
and
like
then
it.
if I drink wine, which I like red wine only, it will be a Merlot, dry.
Definitely a Merlot. Beer wise, I've gotten away from the IPA thing because living out here in New York and next to Vermont, if you didn't know it, Vermont has like some of the most incredible beers in
Yeah,
oh gosh, it's like,
really.
oh yeah, like all those ones like Alchemist and all
Yeah,
that stuff. They're all Vermont
yeah.
companies. Uh, Magic Hat, Vermont company. So they're all right here. And then Omegang, which is not far from us, that whole valley was known for its hops for the longest time. That's like a big hops thing. But I've gotten back into the ales and staying with the German for a
Oh,
moment. You,
German beers are the best. I
do
love
you know what I
ales.
love? I love a good Hefeweizen.
Yes, yes, sir.
Uh, and my favorite's out there on the left coast, Pyramid. It's a Washington State company called
Pyramid.
Pyramid. Back when they
Okay.
used to call them like micro brews, before
Yeah,
this whole like
yeah.
other craft beers, it was a micro brew. Love that. So Kristen wants me to talk about the book. Kristen, this is my show. You tell me to talk about the book. This is my show. I've mentioned that book like 35 times already. Give me a break. I don't even do math. But we are going to talk about the book a little bit. So what it really inspired you to write this whole entire thing?
You know what? Exactly what you just said to inspire people, right? I think that, man, and I didn't even cover just even a fraction of the challenges that I had to overcome, but I overcame it because others around me lifted me through those things. And so now I believe that, Janet made me a promise, or Janet made me promise her that I'd take care of the kids. And she didn't just met our four kids, but she met any kids that I affected education. So the 450,000. And so to take care of our kids, we have to inspire them, empower them, and we have to come around them. I'm going to tell you this last story that is in the book too. Is in high school, I had classrooms on the second floor, and there was no elevator at the time. So I'd roll up to the bottom of the stairs, and there's four of my friends waiting to lift me up those stairs to the second floor. And it's funny because they said they never did it out of pity, but they did it because they wanted me to get to where they were going. So if we want our kids to get where we're going, we need to lift them. And that's what this book is really about: is how do we lift our students? How do we lift individuals, people? Because when we do that, it's going to lift the community.
That I Now I'm going to ask, how many of those four guys do you still stay in touch with?
You know what? Great. Two are my wedding. So yeah, one is my best friend still. So pretty amazing.
And that's true friendship and everything. Now you had a co-author in this book. Now what uh, they weren't able to make the show, and I understand why. But this is your story, and I'm always curious when people have co-authors in these situations.
Yeah.
This was your story. Why a co-author?
It's interesting because I've been telling my story for decades in keynote speeches and all that, and people kept saying, "Hey, when are you going to write your book?" And I like to write. I just don't have the time to write, right? And so I needed somebody to be disciplined and keep me disciplined. So I interviewed a bunch of writers, and then I found Kathy Nash, and we just clicked. And I could tell that she would actually help me write this through my voice. So we got in this
Okay.
cadence. we got this cadence. She would interview on Monday, uh, 2 hours. She'd get the first draft on paper based on transcribing it. That's the hard part, was transcribing it. So she transcribed it, and then I spent the rest of the week to actually revise it in my voice. And we just followed that pattern. I think that it worked out really well. Most people choose ghostwriters to help them. I didn't want a ghostwriter. I wanted somebody that could live this story with me, and it was very therapeutic actually to be able to share
What do you mean?
story. Well, therapeutic because all of those just really difficult moments in my life, sharing them with another person who's going to transcribe it on paper, that was really releasing, you know. And when you read the book, you're going to see why. You know, first half is a memoir. The whole thing's a memoir, but the first half is all the obstacles that I face, and the second half is a love story. And that love story, you're going to need to get the tissues out for that. And so that's why I say it was very therapeutic, because um, that love story is pretty captivating.
Now, you also talk about doing public speaking. Do you still do? Obviously, in your role, you've got to talk to,
Yeah.
but I'm talking outside of that. How much public speaking are you doing?
I used to do a lot more before I was a county superintendent, and now this is my priority. And I love this job because I'm out in the community, sharing the story, sharing how we can really lift our kids and educate them. Um, but I will be taking time now that the book is out, soon and shortly, to go out and wherever they'll have me, giving a keynote.
Now, I'm gonna put this out here now.
Okay.
So when they make your life into a movie,
Okay.
and they make it into I listen, anybody who I've ever been on the show and I feel like their story might be a movie or something like that, I got one rule. I told you there was only a couple rules for the show. This is the hidden rule that nobody knows about unless it gets to this point. And that rule is, if you get to walk the red carpet, you have to take me.
Okay.
It's
All
really
right.
what it. That's really what it is. I know you have a wife who's been through all this with you, and all these other things, but she's gonna have to just wait, because the random guy that you've just met about an hour ago is who you're actually gonna have to take on the red
Well,
carpet.
Sean, Sean, the book. I mean, you're gonna see what happens to my wife. So, yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's gonna hit with people who have had relatives or spouses that had health challenges. So Janet did go through that, and not gonna spoil it, but it was a while ago. So, I am that single dad right now. So I'll just
Oh,
say that.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't do that to me. Like, listen, I was
I'm gonna
joking.
leave you. I'm gonna
Don't
leave you hanging, man.
don't do that to
I,
me,
yeah,
Stefan.
yeah.
Like I was saying that from a joke, and now
I,
you're going.
no, it's all good, man. Listen,
Come
listen. I
on.
had to say it. It happened in 2020. It's all good. My family, we have moved forward, not on. It's hard to move on, right?
You should never move on.
You never move on from a loss of somebody, but we've been able to move forward, right? And it's a beautiful ending to that story I just showed you. So
I, I'm gonna
most
a-
fun.
I'm gonna ask you a tough question, man,
Yeah,
and it's tough in my mind.
yeah.
So I'm a very God fearing person and go to church every Sunday. I believe I'm a strong believer. I don't know if you have that faith or not,
Yes,
or
we do.
what you're. Have you ever asked the why question?
Oh, you know what? When the journey, when this health journey began, I asked the why quite a bit, and I was angry with God. Asked him why a lot. Even my childhood, I'd ask God,
That's what I'm
why am
saying.
I?
Like, every
Yeah,
time I turn, I mean,
why am
like
I
you,
disabled?
you didn't
Why
have an
can't
easy
I walk?
road.
Yeah, why can't I walk like my friends? Why can't I play basketball? I ask those questions all the time, and I believe, though, just like, since you're a believer, and David was so authentic in those Psalms. So I believe that's what God wants. It's just authenticity from us. Be real with him. And yeah, I shared my moments of anger and doubt, but I think that, to your point, he answered. He made something. He says he worked the good in everything, right? He works the good in
Right.
all things. He works for the good, right, to those who love him. And even though you're going to see in this book some tragedy, there was goodness that came out of it.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, brother. I mean, you've got a level of strength that I, I don't think most people understand. And, and I'm a true believer in we're only given as much as we can handle.
Yeah.
And probably what you went through in your childhood is what allowed you to go through what you're dealing with in your adulthood.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be your therapist, but I'm just hearing this and thinking to myself, where would I be like in your shoes? And I don't think I have that callus. Like
Well,
that,
you might. You
you
might.
built a callus on your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've built that callus to be able to go through those things. And brother, that's so impressive to me.
Well,
And
I
it
think to
really
your
means
point,
a lot.
I think it's those that we surround ourselves with, right? The community that gets you through those things. You know,
I mean, so
your brother in arms. Your brother in arms. That's what gets you through those
absolutely.
conflicts. So
So we're getting ready to close things up here in the next couple minutes. Uh, any speaking engagements, anything like that coming up? Where if I was out on the left coast, the wrong coast, the left coast, I'm an East Coast guy, man. You guys have good pizza. You know, like why does your pizza suck so bad?
I have a good pizza place by our work. It's really good. So
Ah,
if you're here, I'll take you to that place.
listen, I'm the guy who like shows up in California.
Sourdough crust, brother.
I, okay, I would try that.
It's
I had to hook you up with a buddy of mine though who owns a barbecue place out there. Cali
okay.
Comfort Cali Comfort Barbecue.
No, never heard of it, but I love barbecue.
All right. So what kind of speaking engagements, anything else you got going on coming up here where somebody
Well,
can see you?
we're gonna be in Barnes and Nobles coming up here in a month, and several of them, and so we'll be able to tell their story and share the book, and that's on the author side. And I know we're gonna be during the summer hoping to keynote speak, out of the county, out of the state. So, but we'll keep people updated on the liftedtolead.com website.
So there
Um,
you got the website. How about like Instagram?
yeah,
Anywhere else they can find it?
we're at Instagram, Lifted Lead. You can actually get the book simply on Amazon. It's pretty simple. You just go to Amazon, type it in, Lifted to Lead.
Is there an
Uh,
audible version of it?
uh, so our publisher told us we'll wait for a year for the Audible version because that you don't really make too much royalties on that. So he said
Okay.
let's just get the actual. We're going to have a digital version here in about a week or two. So
All right. Tell your publisher, guys like me only listen to Audible books because
I get it.
I'm in the car for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day.
Hey,
So
should I do the Audible book? Use my own voice?
I'm going to tell you, I actually like it better when I listen to Audible books and the author is the one reading it.
Okay.
Audible's doing this thing lately where they'll have like Audible exclusives
Yeah.
and they're using AI voice to
Oh,
do it.
that's gonna
And
be terrible.
like you you don't realize it's AI until there's certain words, and I'm trying to think of one right now, but instead of saying water, it'll be like water. Like you can hear it like the
Oh no,
pronunciation isn't right. So I would tell you if you're gonna do it,
do it
read
in my own
your own
voice. Okay.
unless you could get like somebody like I don't know. I don't know why these names are sticking in my head, like Louis Gossett Jr. or Samuel L. Jackson. Or
Samuel L. Jackson, that'd be awesome.
like if you could get somebody like that to read it, then you'd be like, all right,
Yeah, yeah. Of course, you got to go that way.
yeah. Or like you get somebody like if you could get somebody completely ridiculous like Chris Rock to read your book,
No, no,
like it makes no sense why he's reading it.
that
That
makes
would
no
be
sense. No,
like
no,
that would be funny though. That would
it
be a
would
funny.
it would be, but it would take a very emotional book away, though. Yeah.
Ooh, you could get. It would be amazing if you could get them to read your book from an emotional side.
Who's that?
Who's the woman that does the audio the radio program? Begins with a D.
Delilah?
Delilah. Could you get if you could get Delilah to
Oh,
read
come
your
on,
book,
man.
dude? How great would that be? Like you couldn't get any more emotional than
Yeah, yeah.
Delilah reading your book.
She
Like
would definitely have the emotion. That's for sure.
like within the first 5 pages, people would be like in tears. They would give up at that point. All
Yeah.
right, folks. Well, look, if you're finding Dr. Stefan through me or me through him, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow. If you're on our YouTube, like it there, subscribe to it. all those different things. Next week, there is no show, folks. I will be out of town, so it's one of those few times. So enjoy the first night of Ramadan on the 18th. There's no show that day. But we will be back on the 25th with a gentleman by the name of Travis Misserell, and I'm probably pronouncing his name completely wrong, and that's just what I do. I don't get a lot of good, easy names like yours, brother.
Sounds like you're an English learner like me, brother.
Oh, brother, I'm from Baltimore. Like every language is like regular English is my third language. I speak Baltimore, Marine, and then English.
There you go.
Travis leads future in new collaboration. He is championing a new way for Americans to judge leaders and fix our democracy. Rather than dividing along left versus right, Travis brings conversation to an up and versus down lens, distinguishing people's first leadership from power first politics. This approach helps listeners cut past partisan labels and focus on transparency, fairness, and real accountability. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. I'm a libertarian. Listen, you all can kiss my ass when you tell me I throw my vote away. I'll throw it away every time, just like everybody else does. So that's my left. And then I'll tell you how far is Spring Valley from you?
Oh, it's about an hour and a half. Yeah. Down
Right, well, that's where Sean Welsh and Cali Comfort Barbecue is.
Right. Oh, okay, cool.
It's Spring Valley, so you can go get some good barbecue. Now, Doc, I know this was kind of a short-term thing here. You didn't get to listen to all 300 and some episodes. So at the end of every episode, the listener always gets the final word. And don't log off afterwards. We got to talk for a minute. So what is your final word for tonight?
Me or the listener?
You. Oh, you always get the final word.
Final word. You know what? Keep lifting one another and go out and get that book, Lifted to Lead, because it's going to inspire you to overcome. And it's going to inspire you and put into perspective what we need to do as a community.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in.
This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.